Hey everybody, I'm Darkside Elite. I'm putting up this nice video because I wanted to talk a little bit about a review for a movie that I was really itching to want to talk about, and that is actually Godzilla. And I'll actually even talk a little bit about Dark Phoenix. I'll put Dark Phoenix in another quick vid, and I'll do that one right after I'm finished with this one. Um, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think it's actually one of the best I've seen in a long time. I liked um, the Godzilla back in 2013. I actually like they kind of did the Jaws situation with him. I do wish that they did show a little bit more of him, but they didn't want to show too many of the monsters because they wanted to get how are the humans interacting with the fact that there's actually these type of gigantic monsters out in the world, and how they're going to react to all this. And I believe that they did a pretty good job with that. I do agree that they should have showed a little bit more of Godzilla. They should have had a little bit more mythology with it. But I think that the director was just trying to do a not a character piece, but he was trying to give a little bit more detail to that how scary Godzilla really is, and how do people react to that. And it reacted to the fans. The fans didn't like it. So what Michael Dougherty did is he went back to the Toho um, mythology of Godzilla back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and he took all that mythology, all that lore and story, and he crafted a very good mythos that you could build another 20 years off of Godzilla off of. That they've been here for a very long time. They've been here even longer than the dinosaurs. Um, and they went to sleep, but because of humanity and the fact that we're polluting and destroying our world, that it's what awoke these titans. What is what they call titans, that they're the basis of all of our religion, off of dragons and dinosaurs and all these monsters that we've been uh, talking about in lore since the beginning of our written language. And I personally felt that the movie set up so much lore that I think that it it could have been way more than what most people expected it to be. They felt that they were just doing too much world building. However, I think that Michael Dougherty did this more towards the fans that love Godzilla, and more towards the people that actually, and more towards fans that have been waiting for a damn good Godzilla movie. And I applaud him for that. I applaud him for putting it out there and not letting bullying tactics from critics or people that just don't know nothing about this lore, that just want something for what they want. And he told the story he wanted to tell. I think they did a phenomenal job building up Kong and telling him that, and saying to the audience that Skull Island is something that they've been looking at since the Vietnam War, and that they're going to actually revisit that. That's one of Monarch's bases. And the way the story was crafted is saying that back when Godzilla first came out of the water and started attacking separate cities back in 2013, he went through San Francisco and completely devastated that whole city. And you come up with the two main adult actors, and they saw that the destruction of Godzilla and the fact that they lost a child in the middle of it, they grew the father grew a resentment towards it, and the fact that they should have just killed him. That is that it's not a sentient being. He's just a rampaging monster, and that we should be protecting ourselves. I really liked his character, and I felt that they did a damn good evolution of him, because because he takes pictures of wolves and all these indigenous animals, but if you really think about his character, he's hypocritical, because he's taking pictures of wildlife, but he doesn't realize that hundreds of years ago humanity was killing wolves because they were coming out of the darkness and snatching up children, or killing their livestock, or killing people. And that's mainly because they're territorial animals. They're going to be protecting their home. And we don't know, they didn't know much about Godzilla. Now Ken Watanabe's character was trying to say that we can live in coexistence with them. We can live in coexist with them. That we can live together in peaceful harmony. We just got to know our place, and that this is not our home, it's their home. They were here first, and now we're just basically, in a way, we're cockroaches to them. They can easily just get rid of us and move on with their merry way. Now, Vera Fagamia's character, she she believes in she believes in what she's saying, and she's doing everything she possibly can to literally make it come true. Now, there are speculations that say that she was the one that's releasing all the beasts. I made that speculation the moment she made that speech about that humanity are the infection and these are the cure, and a line from Matrix. Um, and I think that that's a no dud situation. Now, I'm not going to spoil what Charles Dance's character is about. He plays a really great role, and I think that his character's gonna move forward in the rest of the movies. Um, um, uh, the girl who plays 11, her name escapes me. Um, she did a really good job, and listen to her curse up and down the street throughout the whole movie was actually pretty entertaining to me, because she seems like a very wholesome girl, and having her throw out F bombs and B bombs and S bombs, and it's like, wow, it's like it literally is. It's like it's like they're playing these kids as kids. I mean, they're not gonna be, oh, Jolly G Willikers, or they're not gonna hold back the profanity. They're gonna throw out the profanity as much as possible. And her character was very well written, in my personal opinion. She was torn between two parents, and she wanted to do the right thing, but she understood where her mother was coming from, and she understands where her dad is coming from. I think at the end of the movie that she now understands everything. She knows what she wants to do. She's not going to live in the shadow of both her parents. Um, I think Ken Watanabe is a phenomenal character for this whole series, and um, and the story that they have for him is quite possibly one of the best I've ever seen of his character. I think that they did a really, really great job with him, and they built up that great chemistry, if you really think about it, between him and Godzilla, because he's been listening and watching and waiting for Godzilla. He knows that Godzilla is not a rampaging animal. He's not, because if he was, he'd be coming out of that water and destroying everything left and right. He doesn't do that. He comes out of the water, looks around. If there's something that's in his territory, he takes it out and goes back to the water. That's just the way animals are. He knows this. He knows that Godzilla is a very intellectual animal, beast, if you want to get more technological term with it. But I think they did a really great job with him. I also think that the setup for what they're going to do further is gonna really make it well for the rest of the audience, and it should flesh out a lot more, especially after Godzilla and Kong. Um, they are going to do a Godzilla versus Kong. It's just going to be how now they're going to illustrate that Kong Skull Island. You got to watch that movie. That Kong in that movie, that was a baby. That was not fully grown, and C. Thomas Riley's character even said that. He said, "No, that's still a baby. He's not fully grown." And Godzilla is fully grown, and he makes, and Kong is maybe about a third of his size, even in Kong Skull Island. So you know that he's going to get bigger. So so I truly do think that they're going to um, do a lot, and I hope that they make it very apparent that Kong is going to be a vile threat for Godzilla, because I mean Kong's a gorilla, and he's a wild gorilla, and he's not stupid. He's pretty intelligent himself. So I think they did a really good job with that, and how they build the lore for King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra and Godzilla and all these beasts, these titans, how they're going to call them now, is great. I mean, it it takes everything from Toho and they made it more modern, and they actually adapted and they pushed it forward, and I think they did a really 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 great job with it. Um, I think that a lot of audience and fans, they're really not looking at this movie the way it's supposed to be looked at. This is not going to be like a superhero film. This is going to be a straight typical monster movie made more modern. This is how Godzilla is. I mean, in the older movies, the monster, an evil monster shows up, it destroys stuff. The humans run around with their like chickens with their heads cut off. Godzilla comes out of the water. He looks at the monster. They battle. Godzilla either defeats him or he gets defeated. But that means that, I mean, they have to have it where Godzilla has to have a problem with the monster, and then Godzilla comes back, uses his flame breath, destroys the monster, looks at the humans, and then goes back into the water. So I mean, it just, to me, it just feels like a lot of audience members kind of lost that understanding of that's how it kind of goes. That is the straight beginning, middle, end with the Godzilla movie. There's nothing deep about it until we get into like the 60s or 70s, is when they introduce Monster Island and they introduce more of this lore about what Monster Island is, and that Godzilla has a child, and why he hates Ghidorah, and why he doesn't like Rodan, and why Mothra is so powerful, and why Godzilla is so powerful, why Godzilla because after Mechagodzilla, and he legitimately died. He died. And then he comes back to life, and they don't know how that happened, and they explain that, and there's a lot of stuff that they did to explain why Godzilla is the way he is, and it's just mind-boggling and baffling that that a lot of people don't understand that. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's very very simple. And just look at the story. The story is that these beasts, I mean, I'm sorry, these titans have been around for a very very long time. We base our mythologies and stories off of these titans, and now they're waking up, and now we have to basically not bow to them, but we have to live and coexist with them. And that's just the way it is. And if we don't do that, we're going to be the ones that gets wiped out, because Godzilla has proven that he is extremely powerful, and Ghidorah was um, excruciatingly powerful. He at one point could have easily wiped out all these beasts and took over the planet. There's nothing that could stop them. The humans could not stop them. So they had to figure out a way to defeat Ghidorah, and it just made a lot of sense what happened. I mean, I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's a really really good take about what they did, and I think that their explanations about certain things makes a lot of sense. Um, I really do think that this movie deserves a little bit more credibility, and I think Michael Dougherty deserves a little bit more leeway. And I think that this movie deserves a sequel. This movie deserves a sequel, and it doesn't deserve meddling with WB or AT&T or anybody else involved. I think that the director did a damn good job expanding this mythos and giving, and not just, this is not an American created product. This is an Asian created product. This is made in Japan, and if it's making a lot of money in Japan, then that should be enough for WB to go, okay, well, this is an Asian market. This is not an American market. And if the American audience is not going to like it, then we're not going to cater to them. And that's the way they should think about it. Because if a certain product is not selling here, but it's selling very, very well overseas in certain markets, then they should just cater to them. Because the American market has proven time and time again that they're fickle. They want a fad, and they want simplistic storylines instead of something that actually gives you a lot of meat to chew on. And Godzilla King of the Monsters gave you a lot to chew on. It gave you a lot to understand that that it's not about them ham-fisting that humans are bad, and that this world is and that we're going to destroy the world. No, it's just, it's giving the realization that, hey, there's something out here, we need to live and coexist with them, or the whole ecological system is going to get screwed up. And that's something that's been talked about for a long time, and it's been subtle being talked about. It hasn't been ham-fisted, and I have a feeling that that was another mark that people put onto this movie, and I think that's selfish. I think that I truly do believe that this movie is a an 8. This is a really good movie. It deserves a lot more credibility than it is. It's killing overseas. It's made over $200 million overseas, and that should be more than enough for WB to go, okay, well, then we need to cater to the Asian markets, because they proved it. They proved it flat out that by Aquaman alone and having all that audience and all that prestige overseas in China and Japan, that they made over $1 billion, and people loved that movie overseas. It didn't hit very well here in the states. I like the movie, and I'll talk about Aquaman a little bit later once I get the Blu-ray for Shazam. However, but I do think that Godzilla deserves a lot more. And anybody who listens to this, I think that you should give it a chance and take your family to go watch it. It's a very good movie. It doesn't ham fist a lot of stuff into you. It doesn't. It All it does is awaken you to. It just gives you clarification to things that you already know, and it doesn't just hammer it into your head with browbeating dialogue. All it does is it adds on to what the previous director who did Godzilla 2013 already established. And that's what Michael Dougherty did. He didn't just take that story and try to flip it on its head. He actually just added on to the story and then bridged out more lore, so you get a whole bunch of understanding about what's going on. I think that the visuals for King Ghidorah, for Mothra, and for Rodan was perfect. I love the music that they did. I really enjoyed how they did the the battles between Godzilla and Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. It was beautifully done, and how they showed all these other monsters that started to awaken, and that there's going to be more. That there's a lot more that Monarch has found, but there's probably going to be a lot more that they didn't even find. So I'm really, really hoping that a lot of people just give it a chance and just sit back and one of those days, this is one of those type of movies that you just that you listen and you don't try to overthink. You just listen what the story is telling you, shove popcorn in your mouth, and enjoy a monster mash. And that's what I gotta say about that. Like I said, Godzilla King of the Monsters, it's an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really great movie. It gets some low marks only because I do think that I do believe that there's a little bit of issues with the movie when it comes to some of the storytelling. I think that Ken Watanabe should have gotten a little bit more play, and also Kyle's character, the father. I think that he and Ken Watanabe's character should have had one more talk, because there was something in the movie that really kind of irked me a little bit, and that he kept saying that he warned them about this. He said that you guys wanted to talk to these beasts, and you got that, and now look what the hell's going on. We should just wipe them out and just been done with it. And Ken Watanabe's character he wanted to say something, but I was like, yeah, you should say something like, listen, man, then why the hell are you an ecologist? Well, why do you look at wildlife? You talk about preservation of certain animals, but you don't realize that why do you think you need to preserve those animals? Because centuries ago, centuries ago, we humans were killing off those animals because we felt that they were dangerous. And now you want to wipe out this animal because what? And that's why I felt that they should have really knocked on that door a little bit more, gave that little nudge to him. And then I have a feeling that at that point when he realized what Godzilla was really doing, and what Godzilla really was, it woke in him. He made him go, oh crap, okay, I understand now. I think that also they should have made Charles Dance's character a little bit more menacing. Like, he's gonna be an overarching presence, and he's gonna be an evil presence for the rest of these movies up until maybe he dies. I don't know. I think they, and also I think one more thing they should have done was they should have made a shadow cabal. Like there's a group who believe in what Kyle is saying, that these beasts need to die. We need to figure out a way to wipe them out, and we got to do it. We got to figure it out, or Godzilla might not believe in what we want. Like hey, we tell him we want you to go away. He looks at it and goes, no, I'm staying right here. And we're going, but he goes, but now we got to live and coexist with a gigantic, with a 5 million ton lizard sitting there looking at your door. I mean, this kind of sucks. And I think that's what they should established, that even though that Monarch is supposed to be that type of organization that could be doing that, but there's another organization that's the opposite of Monarch, and that they are the ones they're going to be a possibility of being villains down the road for Godzilla to deal with, and even some of these humans to deal with. Um, I do believe they should have did a post credit scene of of the father or even the daughter, and it shows years later that, like, let's say a few months later, it shows her and her dad, and they're on a helicopter, and that that they're talking about something, and then he goes, yeah, but we got to go there, and she goes, all right, all right, all right, but I hope that we know what the heck we're doing. And it shows the helicopter, and it shows the helicopter panning over, and it shows them going to Skull Island. And then you hear Kong's music, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be bad. So they're gonna go to Skull Island to figure out how, figure out more about Skull Island, because there's a link between Skull Island and these Titans and what's going on with Kong. And I hope that they do a really good job with that. But like I said, it's an 8 out of 10. There's a few problems, but I mean, it's not enough to really, to me, it's not enough to make you get yourself out of the movie. To me, it's just more of a story issue and universe building issue. But I hope that you guys like this. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Give me some comments. I mean, I will talk about this movie all day. Thank you very much. This is Dark Side's Elite. See ya.